welcome to the Say So podcast. I am Kaitlin.
And I'm Darbi. Well, hey, y'all. So we have been talking a lot about relationships and communication. And one thing that we always come back to is hard conversations.
Yeah.
How to have them. What are they? I mean, because we say that a lot.
Yeah, we
hard
do.
Hard conversations.
Yeah.
So we want to go more in depth about hard conversations. What does that look like with the Lord? Right? Because sometimes we have to have hard conversations with the Lord, with ourselves, maybe with our boss or our spouse, even our kids. And so we want to talk a little more specifically about what those look like in our lives. So Kaitlin, what are you thinking when you hear hard conversation? You're having one. Who have you had one with recently? Like, where are you at with this?
Well, I think first you have to establish that if you're in a relationship with somebody, whether it's a friend or a parent or your spouse or even the Lord, like you can sense tension.
Yeah, you can feel it, right?
And it's kind of like interlaced in everything that you do. When you see them or when you speak with them, like you can it's almost like you can't see it, but you can just feel it. Like you know that something is off between you. It would be nice if you could see it, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? You could just get right to it, you know?
Like, can we address this right now? But at the end of the day, both of you usually feel it. You both can be aware of tension. And so I think that you have to determine, okay, am I gonna do something with this, or am I gonna release it? And so I think when you are in, lifelong, really meaningful relationships that you care about, you're investing in, then like we've talked about before, hard conversations are just inevitable. Yeah. Tension is inevitable because when you live with people, when you do life with people, you're going to come across hard things. You're going to come across difference of opinions, different personalities, and it's important to address them. And so, I don't know, thinking about it recently, we kind of led on that Darbi and I had a personal
hard conversation.
Probably about like a month ago. I don't know. And I think we could share a little bit more just like what that looked like. I could, for me and Darbi, like, I feel like we are so different.
Yeah.
But we think kind of the same way in a lot of ways. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Our goals are the same.
Yeah.
Big goals are the same. Yeah. Little goals are the same, but the how is really different for us.
And that's really based on personality and like truly just who the Lord created us to be. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful and I love it. Yeah. But it presents challenges sometimes. So I think too, we are both feelers in a sense. Yeah. I feel like I'm really a feeler and Darbi is
I'm a feeler, but a stuffer, and you're a feeler and a letter outer.
Right. So then there's another challenge, right? Yeah. But we know this about each other. Yeah. And so I know, like, it was probably a couple months. I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like we do a lot of stuff together. We work out together. We do a podcast together. We go to church together. Like, but at the same time, like, I could just feel, man, like, is she okay? Like, is she upset with me? Or like, is there something between us? You could feel it, right? Right. Not that there was anything bad, always love, always communication, but it could have been better, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
And so she came over and I cried because that's what I do.
And I didn't cry at all because that's not what I do.
I know, sobbing, but I was honest and I just said, hey, like, what, what's going on? Are we okay? Like, are you okay? What, is there something that we need to talk about or, and so really like it boiled down to, a really easy conversation of like, I didn't, I'm sorry that I was making you feel this way. I'm sorry I was making you feel this way. I love you like so much. And so I need to know if there's something that I'm doing that's making you feel this way. I need to know that. Right? Yeah. And two, like, we're able to really put this expectation on our friendship of like, no, you have this thought about me. And I really think that actually the enemy, like, he's going to use this every single time in our friendship if we allow it. And we've talked about before, a lot of it is, it's comparison. It's like, you're also 10 years apart. You're also living different lives. Yeah. But you have similarities. So it's always going to be like, well,
you're too different.
Yeah.
So this just is never going to work.
Right. So
we do that even in our marriages, at church. Like, we're too different. We don't agree on this. So we just need to be done.
But in reality, you agree on pretty much everything. Like, it's always the how.
Yeah.
And so we're able to say, like, you know, man, I'm in this like forever with you. And I need you to know that we are different, but it's okay to be different. We talked about this a couple podcasts ago too. Like, it's actually really good. We're complementary to each other.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we were able to end the conversation of like, I'm glad that we've had this discussion. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a one and done. Mm-hmm. And I think that and now it's like the air is so clear.
And what's crazy is the differences are still there.
Yeah.
There was none of it that you're like, oh, okay, well, that's gone now.
And they'll be there forever.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's why I think that's what marks like a good friendship too, is when like you are so different, but you celebrate and are so excited about the things that they're good at, or the way that they handle things. And then you can also learn from each other in those ways too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
You need each other.
Yeah. And so I think the whole point of that was to say, like, even with me, like me and Darby, there was something I could tell, and she could tell too. And it always ends up, it's never like one person can feel it and the other person can't. It like just never happens that way. It's just obvious.
Not if you're a good friend or good, you know, if you're just love
aware.
Each other. Yeah.
And so, you know, we're able to come together and have it wasn't even that hard, but you were just talking about something. It was like the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Right? That's usually what it is. It's not necessarily that it's even like hard or hurtful. No, it's not. It's like you're just talking about the thing that would be easier to not talk about, but we're going to talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's one. I don't know. What about you? Have you had any?
No, I think that's such a good point, because I've been reading this book. It's a John Maxwell book, but he talks about how it takes so much energy to actually connect with people.
It does,
because you do have to have conversations. And I feel like on a weekly basis, like my job is having hard conversations. I could probably list out a 5 every week that I have with people, and maybe it's not always about involving me, but it's me helping them get through a hard conversation and how to have one. And you know, there are 3 ways that we take on conflict. So depending on your personality type, we either withdraw, or we're aggressors, and so we move forward. That's me. Caitlin's a withdrawer, right? So these are our 2 differences. And then there's a third type, and it's where you're dependent. You want others involved in the solution. But if you are like my husband is that. He always wants me to be involved in his solution, but I'm more of like a get out of my way. I don't want people as part of my solution. Just let me tell you the solution. So depending on if you're an aggressor, you're a dependent, or you're a withdrawer, like it's how you're dealing with your emotions. And I was talking with a girl last week, and she left our conversation going, man, I feel so much better. I just needed to say it all. And I said, great, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to still go write down how you feel, so that when you go have the conversation with the person that you need to talk to, you're not just going, oh, well, I'm better now, I'm moving on. You still need to say the things.
Exactly.
You still need to have the conversation and communicate with this person, but now you're going to be able to do it without all the emotion. And ladies, y'all need to hear this, because I live with boys, and so I'm telling you, and Kaitlin knows this too, you cannot go crying.
No.
You cannot go hysterical. You're mad. You're on the defense.
No.
Like, you've got to go calm.
Yeah.
Because when we get calm, our voice is calm, our body language is calm. People aren't going to be automatically on the defense. Like, they're coming at me aggressively. Like, that's going to get you far greater with someone.
But at the same time, you can, if you do have that trusted person, you can do the crying with them. You can do the emotion, the like letting out, I've got to feel this for a minute with you because I trust you.
Yes.
And also you trust the wisdom that they have to not be like, you should be mad. That was wrong. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're not going to feel with you, but they're going to let you,
have
they're
your
just going to,
Yeah.
So you can do that first and process with them if you're a feeler like me. Yeah. Like for me, when it comes to, I don't know. I do this with Mason, but probably somebody I do it to a lot with is my dad. Like, he listens to me all the time, just like rant and cry and like be emotional. And I'm like, Dad, I just need to get this out for a minute. That's all I need. And then we can move on. And next week we can revisit like when I'm a little more, I've processed it. I spent time with the Lord on it. But like for a minute, I just need to feel this and tell you what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I think I think that's a good point. Sometimes you need to have a person you process with that isn't the person that's involved.
Yeah. Oh, no. I know. I don't think you should process necessarily.
Sometimes it's hard with your spouse or maybe a family member, but I really think I think this is why counseling is so effective, right? Like you get to go vent it all out and really go, okay, what is my emotion in this? But what's true? What's what? Yeah. So you do need that. And I think sometimes it does need to be a person that isn't involved in the hard conversation. I forgot where I was kind of going with that, except that, emotions are not bad. I don't want anyone to hear emotions are bad, but we don't need to let our feelings boss us around. Yeah. Our faith needs to boss us around. The truth, God's word, needs to boss us around. And so I think a good rule that I apply, this is for me, but we all need to take some time. I think initially when something happens that causes us to have an emotional reaction is to build in a pause. Yeah. That's something I immediately say, pause. I'm always building in a pause. And I think what the pause looks like is different for everyone. I'm a real quick decision maker. So I can literally have one sleep and 2 prayer times. That's my new rule. I'm going to sleep on it one night and have 2 prayer times. And usually by then I need to move forward and address the issue because otherwise I can stuff for literally ever and move on in it. But I think if you're a more emotional person, maybe you need 3 sleeps and 5 prayer times. I don't know. You need to figure out what that is for you. But I do think there's something to be said for taking it to the Lord, resting, if you're tired, that can be a factor too.
Yeah. So. Oh, it can. Oh man, it can. Yeah. And I think that you're building, you're kind of building some character when you do this, and you're not catching people by surprise of whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah.
I never want somebody to be just shocked by my behavior or my reactions to things. I want to be calm. I want to be, there is something to say about being predictable, in the sense that I know that you're just not totally speaking out of emotion right now, but you thought this through. You're not flying off the handle or just so heartbroken. And like I said, in the moment, that's fine to be, but don't respond in that moment. Like Darby said, wait it out and ask the Lord, should I really be this upset about this? And if the answer is yes, then okay. But if it's not, then, well, thank goodness I didn't just say something that now I've got to go and make amends for. Yeah. Right? Right. We're talking about hard conversations. For me, honestly, lately, I've had I think maybe for the first time, I was texting Darby and I said, I think this is the first time that I'm actually I'm disappointed in the Lord, just in this particular circumstance. Yeah. I said, I feel like that's the emotion I'm feeling. I'm trying to figure out what is it, and I'm almost like, Lord, what are you doing here? Yeah.
Where are you? Why is this happening?
Where are you at? And it's funny because yesterday my kids were in Wichita Falls with my in-laws, and so I had my quiet time in the most quiet, peaceful house. It was amazing. It was so good. And I just sat and I was so thankful for it. And I said, Lord, it is just so easy for me to just trust you and put you in your rightful place. Literally on Sunday when I'm surrounded by people worshiping. That is so easy for me. Yeah. And I do that. And I always it's so easy for me to I can picture him. And it's literally I'm putting him in my hands and I'm moving him to the top. Yeah. I'm picturing it. Yes. Easy. It's Monday morning when I am not surrounded by all of these people. Yeah. I'm in my house and I'm in reality and I'm this situation is still here and it still sucks and I still feel this way. And Lord, where are you and what are you doing? Yeah. And I repented for it because I said, God, I'm really sorry that I do that to you on Sunday. And on Monday I feel this way and I'm questioning you. And I'm so I had to figure out what's where do I fall in this? Because I want my feelings towards him to be genuine. I don't want Sunday to be this high and I do these things because I feel this way and whatever. And then Monday, I want it to be real. But I have to come to terms with God. I'm upset with you in this. And I express that to him. I'm pretty bummed out that you're letting this all unfold this way and you're not doing something. Why are you not doing something? And it's kind of in the same time, I always, it's the same breath, the same moment. I can almost picture him in heaven being and I know he's with me, but I picture him above and seeing this all unfold. seeing everything play out. And he's like, but I know the steps that are ahead. Like, I know what's coming, and I know what you're seeing. And why are you not trusting me with this? You know?
Well, I think ultimately it does come down to trust. And the more you mature, the more you grow, the more you realize that you just have to go to God. Like, he is the solution. He is the only solution. I kind of is like a running joke for me that, oh, God is sovereign. Like, that just makes everything okay. And it absolutely does not make me feel any better in a moment to say, well, God is sovereign and I have to trust him. But literally, God is sovereign and I have to trust him.
I know.
So if there's a situation that I'm in that isn't changing, I have to say, God, give me your point of view.
Exactly.
And I've been using these words, God's point of view, because we only see in part what God sees in full. And so, God, what is it I'm missing? Is it a character thing? Is it a timing thing? And y'all, like, we just have to be honest, because God already knows your heart. I tell my boys this all the time. Like, when you stuff, you're only hurting yourself. When you avoid the conversation, you're only hurting yourself, because God already knows. And, you know, I talk to people that will say, well, I'm praying, but I don't hear him. Listen, hearing him, there's a couple reasons why you might not be hearing him. It can be sin in your life. Okay, maybe there's that. Maybe there's something you need to deal with, or maybe you're not obeying, and he's still going, I'm waiting for you to do the last thing I told you.
Right.
And you haven't done it. So either it's sin, it's just delayed disobedience, or maybe there's nothing wrong and it's just a waiting thing. You know, in Job, all the things that went wrong with Job, and for 37 chapters, God was silent. And God was silent not to leave Job alone. He was always with him, but he didn't speak because, and this is why I tell people, God is trusting you with the struggle. The thing that you're going through, he's saying, I trust you that you know me enough, and I'm trying to grow your faith, that if I don't respond to your emotions, that you are still going to believe who I am and what I say. Okay, because a lot of times when we're baby Christians, just like we do our children, like, God responds immediately. Oh, I want you to feel this spiritual high. I want you to love worship. I want you to be like, oh, God did this and God did that. Okay, so he's meeting these needs to show you, like, I'm here with you. I'm doing this thing in your life. But as we mature, he's going, I don't have to remind you every day that I shouldn't have to remind you. You've matured enough. Your faith can endure this. And I trust that in the end of it, you're going to give me the glory.
Right.
So it's really a good thing sometimes when we're not hearing from the Lord, because he's saying, I still, I think your faith can take it. And I think you know me enough, because God always tells me, Darbi, you know me. You don't need a different word. You just need to stand on the word I already gave you.
That's right. That's good.
You know?
That's good.
So I think those are my 3 thoughts sometimes on why we don't always hear from the Lord, and it's not always bad, but we do need to be honest with him about how we feel, because otherwise you're lying. I mean, he already knows you're really angry, so you might as well just say, God, I'm so angry at you right now.
Right. Exactly.
God, this is really hurting my feelings, because once we say it, there can be immediate relief.
Oh, immediate
relief to just let it out, to have the cry session. I have literally sat in my prayer closet with a blizzard. Okay, coffee always, but some days I'm like, all right, Lord, like, I needed the blizzard, and I just need you to settle this, like. And to be intentional, whether it's intentionally connecting with the Lord or with the person. Listen, it just takes energy. If you're waiting around for it to get easier, it's not going to get easier. In fact, it's only going to get harder the longer we wait to have the hard conversations. So you just need to get a plan, and you just need to rip the Band-Aid off and do it.
Well, that's what, so we're reading in Matthew in our small group. And in Matthew 5, you know, it's talking about anger. And in verse 23 and 24, it says, so if you're offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. That's pretty, it's pretty explicit, easy to understand instruction, right? Because I think about it this way, like, you know, I just don't want to have like a running list of all these people that I'm offended by that we haven't had the hard conversation. And I've got to remember, to avoid them. I've got to remember, like, oh, I can't be that friendly. Like, I feel like people have these thoughts of like, and I've been there too, of like, oh gosh, years ago we had a falling out, and I really I'm still remembering that, and I still, I don't want them to think that I'm over it, so I'm not going to look them in the eye and say hi, I'm going to avoid, it's like, it's so silly.
Yeah.
And it's so hurtful, and it's creating such a root in you of bitterness. And we've talked about that a lot. But I think the instruction is super clear. It's like, don't come and worship me. Don't come and offer these things to me. When you've got stuff you need to take care of. Like, I want you to go and deal with that first.
Yeah, and having a hard conversation doesn't mean that you're going to be unkind. It doesn't mean that it's going to be saying things. I mean, your feelings may get hurt just because we want to be. Yeah. We don't want to hear something that goes against what we believe or what we think is right. But at the end of the day, we have to lay down our right to be right.
Your pride. That's what I think hard conversations are not had because of insecurity and pride. Insecurity first of like, this makes me uncomfortable and awkward and I don't want to do it, which leads to I'm not going to do it because I don't really even care that much, or I'm right and they're wrong, which is pride.
Yeah. And once you say it, you're kind of accountable.
Which
is ultimately what I think we want. I mean, I think even in our conversation, now that I know there are things that I did that hurt Kaitlin, then I'm like, I told her, I was like, man, I'm so glad you just came and told me, because in my mind, this is what I'm doing. I'm just mission minded. I'm doing this and this. But if all I need to do is same with your spouse, like, I just need to, acknowledge you or notice this or pay more attention. Yeah. And this can all be avoided. I want to work on that. Will I get it right every time? No. But now I'm accountable. And so when I see Kaitlin, I'm like, okay, make sure to do this and this, and not out of obligation, but just out of like, I don't want to hurt her. I don't want that to be what I'm showing her. And so I want to lay down that pride and say, no, I don't. I want to be different.
Plus, this relationship is more important to me than and I think we talk about intention a lot, and intention is good, but intention only goes so far because it's really how you make somebody feel that really truly makes the difference. Yeah. So intention is good, but if your intention is not actually, what's the word? The P word.
Priority?
No. Is reality.
Oh, perception is reality.
Perception. If intention is not actually what's perceived, then what you intended really didn't matter.
And we're lazy, okay? Because with intention, we say that, like, be intentional. But listen, it takes energy. And if I could get across anything, it's just that it is going to take energy. Yeah. It takes energy to parent well. It takes energy to be a good friend. It takes energy to be a good spouse, and energy to get with the Lord. I think we want to go to God and say, God, here's the circumstance, fix it. And he's like, okay, but do the work. Do the work. Listen, do the work. Like, you can't just come. You've got to be proactive in your prayers. And when I say that, be proactive in your conversations with the Lord. Be proactive in your conversations with people. Then you don't have to come reactively and say, man, that hurt. Man, that did that. If you went ahead and said, this is what I expect. This is what I'm hopeful for. This is what I'm believing for. We're going to be a lot more likely to get it. And we're all going to be more satisfied in our relationships.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, I think you call them hard conversations because ultimately it is hard. It's not easy. It's not what the flesh wants. It's against your nature. Yeah. But so is everything that is worthwhile. And so is everything that's worth having. It's hard. And that's why, everything in Matthew that Jesus teaches is literally the opposite of what our flesh says and wants. But I love it too because in chapter 11, he's like, no, but come to me if you're exhausted and you're tired of doing it your way, because the way that I have to do it, at first it's hard. But when you actually trust me, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. It's actually easier because I know better,
And you practically, last thing that I just want to, this might be a practical tip. Yeah. When Mike and I were in marriage counseling, our counselor would say, okay, I'm not here for Darby and I'm not here for Mike. I'm here for the relationship.
That's good.
And when I took the approach, and I try to do this a lot of times with any of my relationships, I take myself out and that person out, and I just look at the relationship. So I can go, here's Kaitlin and I's friendship. Apart from Kaitlin, apart from me, what can I do to build the relationship? Almost like it's a third, and I think God then oversees that. That's why three-corded, three-strand, whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Will not be easily broken. And I think there's something in that of like, if I cannot just be me and it just be you, but I can look at it as there is this relationship, this thing that I would care more about than me or you.
Yes.
Being right.
Good. Hard work. Do the work.
Do the work.
It's worth it.
It is.
And we're doing it with you. Like, we do not have it all together.
Yeah, I hope
we
you
are
know
trying
that.
to put these words into practice along with you.
Okay. See you next week.
See you next week.